Newsfirst Newsline with Faraz Shaukatali.
Good to have you on our program, Peter.
Absolute pleasure.
What made you come to Sri Lanka this time?
This time I'm representing Dilma. I'm their food ambassador, which means that I'm teaching people how to cook with Ceylon tea. And there's an important part to this because many years ago, as everyone will know, all the money left Sri Lanka. Nothing. The tea was picked and the money went. Meryl J. Fernando and his family have decided to pick, pack, produce and sell the tea from Sri Lanka, meaning all the money comes back to Sri Lanka. So I'm proud to work for them.
But people know you. I think Sri Lankan, our people love you.
Thank you.
They're in search of you. You know, they say Peter. I mean, Peter. I met him first in Sydney. He's a wonderful ambassador to Sri Lanka, even though the Sri Lanka doesn't recognize him enough. This is how Peter takes Sri Lanka to the world, with My Sri Lankan Kitchen. And Peter, I am told that you have written already 3 books.
I'm in the middle of the third now.
Third, yeah.
But I think
what are you going to write? Oh, let's talk about this.
Okay, well, I wanted to say that there's another reason, because maybe a lot of your viewers haven't seen that book. The other reason that Sri Lanka has come to prominence is that we did a TV show, a 10-part TV show, which really showed the beauty and the old...
No, people watch it. People have seen, the Sri Lankans have watched it, and they've seen it on Fox. They watch it and they talk about it.
I believe that show is so important for many reasons. I did it as a memory for my father. And
that was really a tribute to him.
Yeah, and the way we used to live. But what it's turned into is Sri Lankan people coming up to me and saying, I'm very proud of you, thank you for showing Sri Lanka in that light. And to me, that's the only Sri Lanka I know.
And I've seen in Australia how people rally behind you, how they'll mob you, and see what you have done with Sri Lankan food is amazing, Peter.
Thank you. It's in my blood. I mean, this book was really a homage to my grandmother, who cooked in our 350-year-old kitchen for the 8 years I was there. She took me under her wing, and I really learnt the passion of cooking through her. She was an incredibly strong woman. She ran this big household. There were many people in it. She'd feed anyone that came, including, people outside on the street.
Peter's mother is Austrian. Peter was born in London, and Peter's father is from Kuruvita. And Sri Lankan, Austrian, now Peter is Australian, and his wife, Karen, I would say a wonderful wife. Karen is Australian Fijian.
Yes, she's a 6th generation Fijian, white Fijian. So, and we met, as you do. She was a waitress, I was a chef.
Yeah, you must tell that story to our English viewers. That's an interesting story.
Well, I've been cooking since I was 16. When I was about 28, this young waitress came into the restaurant, and I was single at the time, and I liked her. And it's funny, it's faded now, but one of the things that really struck her was she had a little freckle on the top of her head here, and it looked like a bindi, and it was probably the closest thing I would get to a lady of Eastern appearance. But we hit it off, and I don't know.
That was in Sydney Waterfront, right?
Yes.
Sydney Waterfront.
And 28 years later, we're still together. We have 3 wonderful boys. And to me, the important part is ensuring that they understand their heritage. Not so much the Austrian side, because it really hasn't stuck with me except for my mother. And I've learned some amazing cooking tips off my mother.
So, that's, I think people want to know. You talk about your grandmother, you talk about your father.
Yeah.
But tell us about what influence about your mother and her influence.
Well, my mother, you can imagine a young European woman coming to live in an old house, in a 300-year-old house in Dehivila. In Karagampiti. And this was when we had rolling electricity strikes. There was no, it was very hard. And she came with my father, and we made a life in Dehivila. Now, Christmas became a very important thing, and everybody, of course, joined in. And that's one of the beautiful things about Sri Lanka, is that we celebrate everything, and we celebrate it well with respect, which I really like. But the cooking side of it was, every Christmas, my mother would make all those beautiful cakes that the Austrians and the Germans are so well known for. And, of course, we'd all help in the kitchen, and that was a really deep developmental
your
part
mother
of my
didn't
life.
Like the kalukusi or the black kitchen?
No. She and my grandmother...
Did they hit it off well?
I think I wouldn't say hit it off well. They had their differences, but they became very close because my Archie's youngest daughter, my auntie, the last one alive from that generation, was exactly the same age as my mother.
Ooh.
So they're still friends. And so she took her like a daughter.
No, what I was talking about the cooking, you know.
No, cooking, yes. But that's all part of it.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole part of being in Sri Lanka is about, food wasn't just food. It was about life. It was about vitality. And so my mother's recipes and her recipes came together. My mother learned how to cook curries. My grandmother never learned how to bake biscuits.
So when did your mother cook a nice curry for you last?
I was in Sydney with her 6 months ago. Whenever I come, she always cooks a curry.
But maybe she doesn't have to do that, but she got a famous son, world famous son who's cooking for her.
She always says, "You're working too hard, let me look after you," which is what mothers do, and I like that. When I'm at home, I cook every day. I still cook. I don't cook my wife cooks only when I'm away, and she cooks the first meal when I return, which is my favorite, chicken rice. It's one pot, chicken and rice. But the rest of the time I cook, my boys all eat curry.
Okay, what about the three lovely boys? They like your cooking or they like mom's cooking?
You can't ask that question.
Come on.
But I'm away 7 months of the year. They'll die of starvation if they say they like my cooking. No, we cook different things. I'm always experimenting because I'm writing books. So I'll be writing a recipe. I'll get up, go into the kitchen and test it. That will be dinner on the night. So, whereas Karen has her very good set dishes which are beautiful.
Peter, tell our viewers, you took Sri Lankan food, your Sri Lankan kitchen, and served it to the world.
Yeah.
How did people respond? How did the world respond?
I think a lot of people said, finally, a book about Sri Lanka. Now, I have to add, there's a chef in Sri Lanka, Chef Publis.
Publis.
He's been around for 60 plus years as the head chef. In Sri Lanka, he's very, very highly regarded, and I have utmost respect for him. There's another lady who put out a yellow cookbook, Chana Dasanaika, I think, and it was put out in the 30s. She was the first lady who put out a cookbook for housewives to learn how to cook proper Sri Lankan food. Then there's 3 or 4 others, you know, the Daily News and a couple of others.
Malika Joseph, there was Chitra Perumal, there are different people, yeah.
All of these people were obviously inspirational, but the funny thing is, if you pick up one of those books, the measurements are not understandable by the Western people, because it'll say take a bottle of oil. Now only you and I know that a bottle of oil is a beer bottle that you take down to the thing at 750 mils. So that was one reason. The other reason was that I realized with the modernization that these recipes from my house would disappear. And the thing about Sri Lanka, there's a saying, right? You go to somebody's house, you have a luscious meal, a banquet. When you leave the house, somebody in your party will say, that was very nice, but not like home. So every house has a different flavor, even though the recipes are the same. And so this is from my house.
Newsfirst Newsline with Faraz Shaukatali.
Now you have kiribat.
Yeah.
Is this your recipe of kiribat?
Yes.
Or what's special about kiribat?
Look,
Peter's kiribat.
Peter's kiribat. Kiribat is kiribat. But you know what? It's the meaning of it and the time that you had it. And those auspicious times on New Year, at the first of the month, we always had kiribat. There was something to look forward to. My father used to put mung dal in it, which was then made it absolutely... which made it stunning as well. These are just memories. But memories that maybe nobody else in the West has seen before. And if you think about all the expats we have living overseas, like myself, some of them can't speak Sinhala, some of them can. They're very proud of being Sri Lankan or even part Sri Lankan, but they've lost their skill to cook Sri Lankan food. So I hope this will help. This has been translated into Portuguese, German, Dutch, but not Sinhala. I don't know why.
But why not?
I don't know why.
Maybe a viewer would now offer.
Yes.
And Sinhala and Tamil, maybe.
Of course.
No, so how do people respond? They come up to you. They have tried these recipes. I've seen these books being sold in bookshops at airports. What do people come and tell you?
They're happy. to have a new recipe. One of the big things about Sri Lankan food is the amount of ingredients. So this sometimes becomes a barrier. But I say to people, you need about 12 ingredients. Of those, they all have their own health values. Things like cinnamon is so good for you. So keep them in your cupboard, buy small amounts, keep it fresh, and your curries will taste good.
I eat cinnamon.
Cinnamon is very good for prostate cancer,
Yeah.
I hear, and for many other things. Unfortunately, around the world now, they're selling cassia as cinnamon,
Cinnamon, which is wrong.
which is wrong. It's cheap, but it's not the,
Peter,
the
we
product.
have noticed that you like seafood.
Yes.
You like fish, crabs. Was it an influence because you are an islander? How did that influence come? Why this
Most-
Peter and fish and the chili crab, your famous
Well,
chili crab?
Most of my working life, I have been by the sea. And so it just seemed...
Karagam, they were close by.
But
See,
every restaurant I've ever worked in, except for the first one, and in London, has been by the sea. So that, to me, just naturally meant serve seafood. But I'm also very aware that we have to be careful with our oceans and how much we take out and how big the fish are. And so I'm a very strong advocate of sustainability, which I think needs to be practiced everywhere. I surf here in the waters, and I know that I'll never get eaten by a shark because everything in the waters gets caught. In Australia, I surf in the waters, and I'm scared I'm going to get eaten by a shark because we are very strict with what we can and can't kill.
I've seen you coming out very safely in Bondi Beach.
I'm always so far so good. I've got all my bits.
But Peter, tell the viewers, now earlier we spoke of Karapincha and Gotukala. Tell our viewers about Karapincha. It's important to educate them.
Karapincha is the curry leaf, and it's in every single curry. And the idea of it is that it firstly tastes good, but secondly it's good for digestion. Gotukala has had many, I don't want to make any medical claims, but Gotukala is renowned to have many advantages, and I think one of them is to reduce diabetes. I'm just saying. And now in the West, it's funny. Bandula, it's so funny because so many things that we've known for centuries. King coconut. You look at the coconut water craze around the world. We've been drinking Pambili all our lives.
Yeah,
Gotukala sambal. You have it all the time. It gets put on your
and we
plate.
take it for granted.
And we take it for granted. Now, turmeric. You know that in my household, in Colombo, for 350 years, nobody got cancer. Nobody. Not one reported case until just 3 years ago when my auntie got breast cancer. Now, that's not coincidence. It's got to do with our diet. And it's got to do with our environment. And I think in those days, in the early days, when people were eating these natural foods, they understood what each food meant and what it was good for. Your body was healthier, and you had natural inhibitors against some of these terrible diseases that seem to be prevalent every day. So I'm advocating that we think about, going back to the roots.
Peter, I want to talk now, see, Karapincha. Have you noticed now, I eat all the Karapinchas, but have you noticed that lots of our people,
They push it away.
They throw it away. Tell them not to.
Well, don't do it. I mean, look, there are lots of people that my wife doesn't like pieces in the curry. But to me, I eat the clove, I eat the cardamom, I eat the cinnamon.
I eat, what about, do you use small fish?
Yes.
For your
yes, always. Yes. That's flavour. Gorica. When you tell people Gorica, anywhere else in the world, except maybe southern India, they don't know. But when you put it into your kiri hodi, or you make your blackfish curry and you add Gorica, the taste is amazing. Cashew nuts.
What about, do you like polos curry?
Yes.
How is your preparation of polos?
I prefer it as a sambal.
Not the polos curry?
No.
You prefer the
But
polos
I
sambal?
like the kos atta curry. That's nice.
Yeah.
Because my grandmother was vegetarian,
Yeah.
so she cooked kos atta with the meat curry. Cracked the shell, dried it, then cracked it and cooked it, and so cooked it with a spicy meat curry, but you were eating vegetable.
But still, for all, your favorite curry is Auntie Padmini's Del curry.
Without a doubt.
Could you give our English viewers the recipe for Auntie Padmini's
It's
Del
a secret.
But isn't it available in this
It's available
book?
in that book, yes.
But okay, why? How come that's your favorite dish? Curry?
Food is an interesting thing, Bandula. You can close your eyes and put something in your mouth, and it can trigger a memory. So it's not just flavour. Food to me is an entire journey of memories and discoveries. And to me, I can still see exactly where I am in my shorts, running around the house in Dehivala, and Auntie Padmini saying, "Puta, I've got some curry for you." And she would feed me this beautiful sticky del curry. It's just memories. It takes me back to a time. You know, in the 8 years we were in Sri Lanka, I was only from 4 till 11. I cannot remember one single bad day. Everything was filled with love and adventure and madness. I can't remember being hot like I am now.
Peter, I want to talk about our day-to-day tea. You know, Sri Lanka, people say in Sri Lanka, they don't drink tea, they drink sugar.
Yes.
Right? And I love my tea, I like my plain tea, ginger plain tea, with a piece of jaggery.
Yes. Much better for you.
Is it better than sugar?
White sugar is processed. So white sugar goes through this process, because when you take cane juice and you dry it, it's not white. So they chemically process the sugar so that it comes out nice and white, because we want to see white sugar. Jaggery comes from here. You know,
so we advise our viewers, don't be shy. It's not only happening in villages. Just go for the ginger plain tea.
I like, and the ginger is very good for you as well.
Ginger plain tea with a piece of jaggery.
Now, plain tea is the way you should drink tea, or a little bit of bees honey if you want it sweet. But did you know that in one bottle of soft drink there are 18 teaspoons of sugar? So we're wondering why we have diabetes. Start drinking Tambili, stop drinking soft drink.
Peter, before we end the program, will you advise the lazy housewives in Colombo? What advice can you give the lazy housewives in Colombo?
Firstly, ladies, he said that, not me, okay? So I've met many of you throughout Colombo when I'm there, and none of you are lazy, because I don't want to be hit. But all I'm suggesting, and I think our modern life has changed, we're now living in high-rise apartments, we're very busy, the ladies of the house are also working, so rushing around, and some people are lucky enough to have help, but even if you have help, ensure that you guide them in cooking healthy food. Remove the fat, remove the sugar, and try and eat healthier. That's all, you know. Like you can get a piece of meat, take the skin off, take the fat off, just have the meat. You know, just little things to make
Peter,
it more
to end
healthy.
up, I'll make amends. What advice can you give
They're going to get you.
to give the men to be fair by their wives, to learn cooking?
Yeah, boys, get out there and do something. I think, I've cooked in many kitchens, in houses, in villages, and there'll be 4 women in the house, and the man will walk in and start telling them what to do. And I've said to him, have you ever actually cut anything or done anything? So before you advise, act. Cook the first meal and see how the rest of the family enjoys it. And then learn how to do it.
Or sometimes the armchair critics, they'll ask, is the food ready? When the food is ready, they go for it.
But you know what? Get up out of that armchair and move a bit. Your diabetes might go away.
Thank you very much, my friend Peter Kuruvita, the real Sri Lankan ambassador, and who's taking your Sri Lankan kitchen to the world. Thanks a lot, Peter.